Have you ever been the honest one in the room? You know, the person who speaks up, who sees the cracks no one else is willing to acknowledge? Well, here's what happens when you do. It's not just a question of whether you're right or wrong. It's about what the system does when you decide to be the one who breaks the silence. And trust me, the consequences aren't what you think they are. Picture this. It's a Tuesday morning meeting. Your colleague, Sarah, puts her hand up. "My bad, everyone," she says. "I skipped step 2 in the compliance checklist. That's on me. It'll cause a 2-day delay." The project lead nods. "Thanks for flagging it, Sarah. Please fix it today and loop in the legal team. Problem identified, owner assigned, path forward clear. The system just performed a standard error correction." Now it's your turn. You take a breath. You've run the numbers, you've seen the pattern. You say, "I've been analyzing our core success metric, the user engagement time. I'm starting to think that optimizing for this is, in the long run, making our product worse and eroding user trust." What happens next is telling. There's a beat of silence, not an angry silence, a processing silence. Then your manager smiles. That's a really valuable perspective. Truly, let's make sure we capture that for the next strategic offsite. Great contribution. Notice the difference? Sarah's admission triggered the fix-it protocol. Your insight triggered the scan and file protocol. Your honest thought wasn't treated as a problem to be solved. It was treated as a specimen to be collected, labeled, and placed under a microscope. This video is about what happens inside that microscope. It's not about whether you were right or wrong. It's about the silent, automated system that kicks in the moment you hand over a sample of your real thoughts, your true operating system. So if you're watching this and something feels off after you've been candid, you're probably in one of 3 places. Place 1. The translation zone. You speak up, challenge the status quo, and suddenly your bold idea gets watered down and recorded as suggested a review of long-term brand alignment. Just like that, your radical honesty is tucked away in a neatly labeled box. But here's the real question. Why does this happen? And what does the system really think about your idea? Your radical honesty has been professionally laundered into a to-do item for a committee that may never meet. Place 2. The feedback pivot. Your idea wasn't wrong, but suddenly the conversation shifts. People stop talking about your idea. They start talking about how you presented it, whether the team is ready, or how independent your thinking is. Why? Because your honesty made them uncomfortable, and now you're being categorized, not as a solution maker, but as a potential liability. But let's dig deeper. What's really going on in their minds when this shift happens? You hear things like, "I love your passion, but we have to think about the team's readiness for this," or "Your independent thinking is great. Let's work on bringing everyone else along." The focus has shifted from your output to your wiring. Place 3, the gilded isolation. Now you're invited to blue sky thinking meetings. But here's the catch. These are the ones where you're asked to brainstorm, imagine the future, but never actually get to touch the budget. Your ideas get collected like trophies for the company's image, but you're pushed further from the real decisions. And here's the kicker. This is the beginning of your isolation. But the question is, how do you escape this trap before you're completely sidelined? Meanwhile, the invites to the meetings where budgets are actually cut, where headcount is decided, where the real resources are allocated, those become quieter, rarer. This isn't a promotion or a firing. It's a recategorization. In the company's internal database, you've just been moved from the folder marked Reliable Production Units to a new folder marked Cognitive Variables under Observation. Now, what is the system observing? What is it calculating while it gives you that polite, encouraging smile? It's running 3 primary diagnostics. Diagnostic 1, the predictability update. Before you spoke up, you were a bit of a black box. In that moment, you've just revealed your operating system. You've handed them a playbook, a guide to your values and motivations. But this isn't just about transparency. It's about strategy. Your honesty makes you predictable, and the system now has a clearer idea of how to control you. But what if you could turn this knowledge to your advantage? What if you could hack the system before it hacks you? You just revealed a key parameter. Say you're in a meeting at a sleek fintech startup in London and you say, "I don't think we should build features that encourage reckless debt." In that moment, you weren't just giving feedback. You were handing your manager a manual. Chapter 1, how to motivate this employee. Use financial wellness narratives, not growth hacking buzzwords. You just made yourself easier to predict and therefore easier to manage. You're less of a mystery, more of a solved equation. Diagnostic 2, the contagion risk assessment. Every company runs on a shared story, a company reality. Your disruptive, coherent thought isn't just an opinion, it's a competing storyline. It's a cognitive virus. Imagine you're a researcher in a Bay Area AI lab. You stand up and say, "Our fairness algorithm isn't fixing bias, it's just perfecting a way to measure bias based on our own flawed assumptions." That's not a critique of the code. That's a critique of the Bible the coders swear by. The system now has to ask, is this idea infectious? Will it spread to other bright minds and make them doubt the gospel? How many all-hands meetings, how many reassuring memos from the VP will we need to contain this outbreak? Your sentence is no longer just words, it's an incident report. Diagnostic 3, the political cartography update. There's an invisible map of alliances and oppositions that management constantly maintains. Your words are pins on that map. You say in a supply chain meeting, our single source strategy is a massive vulnerability. You think you're talking about risk. The system's algorithm hears potential ally of the old guard diversification faction, skeptical of the CEO's centralization push. It will now quietly connect your employee profile to others who've expressed similar concerns. You didn't choose a side. The system just chose one for you based on your signal. The silence, the delay, the "will circle back." That's the sound of these 3 calculations running in the background. The system is deciding, is this a harmless glitch in one unit or the first tremor of an earthquake? And how you speak changes the calculation entirely. If you escalate a specific complaint into a critique of the whole company philosophy, that's not feedback. That's a paradigm shift proposal. High threat level. If you wrap your technical argument in the language of ethics and justice, you're not just disagreeing, you're seizing the moral high ground, forcing the system into a PR battle. Maximum cost. If you keep explaining yourself, trying to clarify your true intent, the system reads that as instability. A stable, reliable signal doesn't need constant recalibration. You're showing your high maintenance. So, what happens when the system scans you? Your honest idea is no longer just feedback. It's a threat level assessment. And here's the thing. The system doesn't just react, it calculates, it decides. And your career isn't just in your hands anymore, it's part of a larger game. So, how do you play the game when the rules are stacked against you? Response A, promotion to court jester. They'll give you a title like Chief Thought Provocateur. You'll get a blog, a podcast, a slot at the annual conference to say your edgy thing. Your dangerous idea has been hired, given a salary, and put in a beautifully decorated box on the shelf. You're there to show guests how innovative the company is. You have been weaponized into a mascot. Response B, death by process. Your idea is given the respect it deserves. A cross-functional task force is formed. You need impact assessments from 6 departments across 3 time zones. You will spend 9 months building a business case that proves conclusively that water is wet. Your idea won't be killed. It will be honored with a funeral of endless slides and stakeholder reviews. Response C, the glorious exile. You'll be encouraged to share this genius with the world. You might get a book deal, become a LinkedIn influencer. Your departure is mourned as the loss of a brilliant, restless mind. Internally, you become a legend, a beautiful cautionary tale, a monument to what happens to people who think too hard from the inside. This isn't corporate psychology. This is ancient power mechanics. A philosopher from ancient China, Han Feizi, had it figured out. A ruler can handle a minister who steals gold. That's a crime. He must eliminate a minister who starts preaching his own philosophy. That's a rival source of authority. In modern terms, your company can handle you breaking a rule. It cannot handle you breaking the shared reality that all the rules are based on. So while you're in the scanner, a piece of advice: stop worrying about being right. Start thinking about being decoded. You're no longer in a conversation. You're in a diagnostic. The loud, angry response to a screw-up is the system flexing its muscles. This quiet, complex, analytical response to your honesty. That's the system showing you its X-ray. You've touched a nerve deeper than any procedural error ever could. But this is just the software layer, the battle of ideas. What happens when you're not just a node with a dangerous idea, but a node that starts building its own power supply, its own network, its own resources outside the system? When you're not just a critic, but a potential competitor, that's when you move from being a risk to being an existential threat. And that is a whole different and much more dangerous game. You think you've been decoded, but what happens when you start to build your own network, your own resources outside the system's reach? When you're no longer just a part of the corporate machine, but a potential rival to it, that's when the stakes change. And trust me, this is where the game really gets dangerous. Stay tuned, because next time, we're diving into the most dangerous move you can make: creating your own power outside the system. Until then, just know the scan is still running. This isn't the end of the conversation. It's the end of thinking a conversation was ever just a conversation.